Hi everyone, welcome to Making Things with String. My name is Kate. This is my crafty YouTube channel. I am coming to you as always from Nova Scotia, Canada, where we're finally getting some rain. We've had some pretty intense forest fires here on the East Coast, which isn't something that I am very used to. We've been fine. Our home hasn't been affected, but it's been really nerve-wracking, and it has really impacted us locally. So really glad to see the rain starting to come down and the fires getting under control. It's been a little while since I made a video. I've got a lot of progress done to show you on all kinds of crafts, including a lot of cross stitch, some diamond painting, and a little bit of knitting. So welcome, thank you for coming to check out my channel. The way that I've done the video today, I've just sort of over the past couple days taken some overhead shots of my works in progress, including one finish and one new start. And so I'm just going to sort of play through those clips for you, and then I'm going to come back at the end. I'll show you, the socks that I've been knitting, because those are easiest to show in this manner, and give maybe a little bit of a life update, tell you what's been going on, what my plans are going forward. But yeah, enjoy my updates on my whips. We'll start with some cross stitch, move on to some diamond painting, and then knitting. So we're starting things off today with a very exciting finish. This is one half of the Quaker Sister Sampler by Modern Folk Embroidery. I have stitched this on a piece of 32 count linen dyed by Roxy Floss Co. The colorway is called Under the Shade. It's looking a little grayer than it is in real life, as it usually does when I'm filming. This has got a bit of a green tinge to it, but it's sort of a dirty green with some really nice speckling. You can see here a nice little yellow speckle, a little red speckle. So it's a beautiful piece of fabric, and I stitched this using Roxy Floss Co. floss as well. I am forgetting one of the colorways right now. One is called Colonel Mustard, but I'll put the other one down below in case you're interested. The darker one is Colonel Mustard, and the lighter one is a different color. And yeah, it's done. So here the motif in the center says, "For I am thine and thou art mine," and it is very cute. Since you last saw this, I completed this whole little flowery snowflake motif, this bird, this entire motif, and some of this motif on the right here. So yeah, I did quite a bit of little work on it, and I finished it. And finishing this piece was motivated by a new start that I wanted to make. So I think I will talk about that next. But yeah, this piece I'm hoping to frame. I'm gonna have to look into, hello fish. Yes, it's beautiful, isn't it? Yes, it is. I'm gonna have to look into getting a custom frame for this, because as you can see, it's a bit of a strange shape. Fish is just gonna get some few last hairs into my work before I put it away. All right, so let's move on to my new start. So for Mother's Day weekend, I decided to go visit my mother for the weekend. And on my way home, I stopped at a cross-stitch shop that is in Moncton, New Brunswick. It's called the Stitch Bug. And I picked up my very first Mirabilia. So this is Ophelia. I picked up the chart. I picked up all of the DMC to stitch her that I didn't already have. I picked up the beads and one of the Karen water lilies required to stitch her. The other one wasn't in stock, so I had to order it. And I got a piece of fabric as well. So I was really excited. You can see here, I've got my floss cards made up, my beads made up, and I started stitching this. I did make myself, like I said, finish a piece before starting this new piece. So I finished that Quaker Sisters sampler, and as a reward for that, I allowed myself to start this piece. And so yeah, this is how much I've done so far. Like I said, I've never stitched a Mirabilia or a Nora Corbett pattern, or any other kind of fancy lady. So this is really exciting. I've never used beads before. I won't be adding any of these beads until the end, because I hear that that is better to do. But it's got all kinds of beautiful pinks, oranges, reds, and greens, some golds, and you might be able to tell that I'm a pretty big fan of gold and green. Here's my Karen water lilies. That's a silk thread. I've never stitched with silk thread before. So yeah, I'm really enjoying this. Oh, and the fabric, I believe, it's a 32 count. And I think it's just a Zweigart olive color. It was just the one that they had that I felt matched the closest. I think it's gonna look great. And I'm really enjoying stitching this. So I started in the very middle of the pattern. I'm gonna do sort of the top half of the pattern first, and then the bottom half. And yeah, this is what she will look like when she's all done. Ophelia by Mirabilia. So I have also worked a little bit on this very cute gingerbread house pattern by Country Cottage Needleworks. Yeah, I filled in most of the house, and I just have sort of the rest of the white detailing and the gingerbread man to do, and a little bit of border. As you can see, I did a whole bunch of little French knots up in the roof in red and green. Some of them were more successful than others, but from a distance they look cute. And still really loving this piece. Again, this is on, I believe, a 32 count Affogato from Fiber on a Whim linen. And I'm stitching this with the called for threads, which is some DNC, some Classic Colorworks, and some Weeks Dye Works. And this piece is cute. I'm having a little trouble getting the stitches to lay properly, which you may or may not be able to tell. Which I do try to do, but it doesn't bother me too much because from a distance it all looks the same. But yeah, this is my gingerbread house project and how much I've progressed. So I'm about to get started my stitching for the 24-hour of cross stitch weekend this weekend, and my first piece focus is going to be this Reaching Skyward stitch along, the Modern Folk Embroidery 2023 stitch along. And so my first goal for the weekend will be to finish the April portion of this. So this line here down at the bottom is sort of the bottom of that, but I need to do this border here, this border over here, and the snowflake stars around the outside. So we'll see how long it takes me to get that stuff done. Right now I'm 30.1% complete. I've got 14,383 stitches. So we'll see how far we get. So here is what Reaching Skyward looks like after my 24 hours of cross stitch weekend. You can see I made some pretty decent progress here. I'm not done the April portion of this piece yet, which is why I didn't shift to anything else over the weekend. But I am now 33.07% complete, which means I did 2.97% of the entire piece this weekend. And my stitch count is now 15,804, which means over the course of the weekend I did 1,421 stitches. I didn't as closely track the hours that I spent, so I don't actually know how close I got to 24 hours. I don't think it was particularly close. You know, I just had other things that I needed to do during the weekend, so I just stitched whenever I could, and I'm really happy with this progress. As you can see, there's still a little bit of work over here. I need to do the rest of this border and some more of the little star snowflake flowery things, and then I'll be done April. I have a few days left in April, so that's great. I kind of would like to finish this early though, so that I can have a bit of a break from it and work on something different before May starts. But yeah, look at this piece. It's so beautiful. I don't know if you've noticed, but there is a mistake in here that I discovered relatively soon after I did it, but decided not to pull it out. And I will point it out to you because I don't mind. It's in this little band here. So you can see there's these like diagonal triangles. This one is correct. There's only one stitch between these two little sets of triangles. Over here, I skipped 2 accidentally. So that's a mistake, and it kind of puts this off center a bit, but I just adjusted for it over here, and I figured if it really bothers me, I can take it out later and restitch that. But at the time, I didn't feel like frogging it, and I don't think that it's very noticeable. And I also think that little mistakes like that happen. They're natural. They show up in, you know, historical cross-stitch pieces, and I don't mind them at all. It makes it a little bit unique. And yeah, it's just more fun to keep stitching than to frog out your mistakes. But I try really hard not to make mistakes. That's the only, I mean, I have frogged out some stuff on this piece, mistakes that I've made, but that one was just, you know, I was like all the way over here when I realized that I was off. So anyway, gosh, I just love this piece, and I'm really looking forward to seeing it come together, to continue to come together. Right, so as you just heard, at the end of that 24-hour of cross-stitch weekend, I was at 33.07% complete on this piece, totaling 15,804 stitches. And now, at the beginning of June, I have 42.66% of this piece complete, or 20,388 stitches. So since my last YouTube video, I went from 22.7% to 42.66%. So I think that's some pretty good progress. Still really enjoying this piece. As you can see, I've made some customizations to it. I replaced some motifs with some initials. These are my grandparents' initials, so my dad's parents and my mom's parents. And this is a tree-themed piece, so I thought I would just go ahead and fully make it a family tree piece. As I was stitching on this in January, my grandmother passed away, and when that happened, that's when I got the idea of turning this piece into a bit of a family tree. So I've got my grandparents' initials there now. I'll put my parents as well as my own. And yeah, this is the May section. In my 24-hour cross stitch videos, you will have heard me describe this one mistake I made up here. The first thing I'll have to do is frog a couple rows down here because I made another mistake. So you can see these two little lines are sort of evenly spaced here the way I've stitched them. But the second one should be 2 rows instead of 1. So I will tear that out and frog that out and fix it before I get started on my June stitching. So the way that I've been approaching this piece is I'm trying to stitch about 200 stitches a day on it so that I can finish my monthly stitching around the 20th of each month. And that will leave me sort of more time to work on other things. Like you'll see that I've made some pretty good progress on a couple other projects in May because I did that. So I finished my monthly stitching on this on about the 20th of May and was able to make some good progress on other things. So we'll talk about that later. But I'm hoping to do that again, although it is currently June 2nd and I haven't stitched on it yet. So hopefully today and tomorrow I'll get to catch up a little bit. As a reminder, this piece is stitched on a 20 count Aida from Evertote. It's a porcelain colorway, and I've also used Roxy Floss Co. flosses. The deep green color is called the Whiz, and the brassy color is called Brass Tacks. And yeah, that's my progress on this piece. So looking forward to getting in another strip for June. So this is another piece that I have put a lot of work into. This piece is called Needs No Paint. It's by Heaven and Earth Designs, and the art is by Jill Clare. The last time that you saw Needs No Paint, I believe I was at about 20.15% complete, or 16,883 stitches. And currently I am at 26.47% complete, or 22,183 stitches. So I have filled in a lot in here, and I have done this whole ear section, and I'm starting the sort of jaw of the horse here. So this whole area is going to be the horse's head, and its body sort of goes down this way. So this piece is still really stunning. Getting into this section and like creating that ear was really fun, and just really love this piece. Still plugging away. What I've been doing is, what I did last month is for the Modern Folk Embroidery piece, I tried to make it so that I got 200 stitches a day in on that, meaning that my monthly stitching for that is done by the 20th of the month. And then any stitching that I have per day after that 200, I was working on this piece. And then once I finished my 4,000-ish for Modern Folk Embroidery, I was working primarily on this every day, and then after that I would work on something else. This month it was mostly Ophelia. So yeah, look at this piece. I don't know the fabric. I think it's like a 25 or 28 count fabric. I'm stitching it 2 strands of thread over 1 fabric thread, and I'm stitching a tent stitch or half stitches, as you might be able to see if I zoom in like this. I also changed the way that I've been stitching this. You can see down here this sort of very stark 10 by 10 grid with a few little exceptions. I found I was throwing away a lot of thread doing that. So I'm still stitching basically in 10 by 10 squares, but I'm finishing out threads and moving beyond the 10 by 10 square to finish off a thread, not going too far so that I don't, lose count, but trying to finish a thread when I can. And that's what's resulted in this sort of stuff here. This looks like a hard line, but it's really just sort of the edge of the neck of the horse, so there's no stitches beyond that. Yeah, this needs no paint. Another lovely piece. So I decided to dig out the frame for my paint plot diamond painting here. And I realized, so when I last talked about this and talked about framing it, I mentioned that I wanted to like sand and stain the frame. But the other day I got it out to just kind of try putting it together and see what it was like, and realized that it was not meant to go outside of the piece. It's meant to wrap the canvas around. So that was actually a very simple process, which I did. And so I hung it up on the wall. I think it looks okay. Some things that I would like to do are to paint the edge, because you can see here the number chart is still there. Doesn't look super professional with that kind of information there. So I want to paint the edge of the canvas black so that it will look a little bit better. Also, I wasn't perfect with my centering of it. You can see over here, this side is a little bit further out and this side wraps around a little bit. But I think that that will look okay once I paint it. And I think it's great for a first time framing a diamond painting. So yeah, that's my diamond painting hanging up on the wall. Here's a quick look at my progress on the Kraken diamond painting that I've been working on. This piece is from Diamond Art Club. It's going to be about 4 feet tall when it's done. And when you last saw it, I think I was right around here. So I finished a whole row of diamonds, and this is still a lot of fun. I haven't done a whole ton, as you can see, of diamond painting since my last video, but I still really enjoy this. And I've gotten my mom into diamond painting as well, so she's been doing it too. But yeah, this piece is still really fun to work on. I'm a bit daunted by how long it's going to take, but we'll just keep plugging away. And yeah, realizing some cool colors coming out here in the SAL, and there's going to be just like big swaths of one color, but that might be fun and just like easy to do. Yeah, but this is what it's looking like, my Kraken. Hello again. Yes, I hope you enjoyed those video updates. I wanted to shoot a little clip to update you on the socks that I have been knitting. So these socks were started in my last video. I think I had completed maybe a little bit of the cuff of the first sock, but I've got the whole first sock done. It's some yarn by Nerds with Needles, which is a local Halifax yarn dyer, and a little mini skein, a contrasting mini skein for the heel and the toe as well from Nerds with Needles. So I've got one sock completed, and I've got this much of the second sock done. So almost ready to start the heel on this, just a little bit longer to knit on this before I'm ready to start the heel. So that's a sock pattern that I sort of made up myself. It's mostly just a plain knit sock with a 2x2 rib on the cuff, and then it's basically knit down the body, but on each side I have a few ribbed stitches, 1x1 ribbing for about 5 stitches. So there's like 3 purls on each side. And what this does is it means that the sock is mostly straight knitting, which is easy knitting, but the sock is also still a little bit stretchy when you put it on your foot, so it has a bit of give and a bit of flexibility with respect to the size of foot that it will fit on. So yeah, those are my socks. So next I'm going to overlay one last video clip that I took in this room a couple days ago of another knitting project that I have finished. So I have completed my Leona dress, and this is a project that I knit out of Hue Loco Advent Calendar that I opened in December 2022. So this is the Vista Fade Advent Calendar, and I knit a little dress out of it, and it's done. And I love this dress. It's fitting really well, and you know, it blocked out nicely. My little ribbing edge on the bottom isn't really rolling up, so that's great. And I have worn it a few times. Maybe I'll also insert a photo, a bathroom selfie that I took of me wearing it to work. I wore it one day, and I went to the store to purchase something, and the cashier was like, "I love that dress," and I was like, "I made it." So that's always a good feeling. Yeah, it's a really nice, comfortable dress, and it's not too warm. Something that I learned. I wore it on a pretty warm day here, without any like leggings or undershirt under it, and it seems like it's going to be a great little summer dress. And I can warm it up too if I want to wear leggings or like a long sleeve shirt under it. So really, really proud of that dress, and glad that it turned out nice and that it fits well. It does. So there's some shaping in the dress to make that hourglass shape. And I find when I'm wearing the dress, especially if I've worn it for a long time during the day, it does sort of like, you know, stretch down and lengthen out a bit, such that the hip is like a little low on my legs, like not where it's supposed to be, but it's not so drastic that it's something that's really noticeable, I don't think. Like you would see it if I stood straight on and kind of showed it to you. But I don't feel like it's super apparent. It's not impacting my desire to wear the dress either. So yeah, that's amazing. So that's a dress that I started in January this year, meaning that it took me about 5 months to knit that dress. So I haven't cast on a new big knitting project as of yet. I think the next thing that I cast on will probably be a sweater out of the rest of my stranded yarn that I purchased. I purchased a sweater's quantity of yarn from Stranded Dye Works, so that might be my next big project, but I don't know when I'll start that. I don't have any immediate plans to do that. So that kind of leads me into some like life update stuff. So going forward, my plan is to continue doing my monthly section of the Modern Folk Embroidery Reaching Skyward SAL, of course. I'm also really enjoying the progress that I'm making on my Needs No Paint piece. So I want to keep working on that daily if I can, and see if I can get that finished. Right now, I'm using an app called Stitch Pal on my phone. It allows you to kind of enter, every time that you work on a piece, you can enter the progress that you made, like how many stitches you did, and add a picture. But another cool feature that it has is it can tell you, based on your current number of stitches per day, it can tell you when it thinks you're going to be done that piece. And with Needs No Paint right now, at my current stitching rate, it's got me finishing it sometime in 2024 in late spring, early summer. So I want to focus on that and get it finished, because I do actually have a couple other Heaven and Earth design charts, full coverage, big charts that I would like to get started, but I don't want to start one of those until Needs No Paint is done. So I want to keep working on that. So my goal will be to do about 200 stitches per day on Reaching Skyward. That gets me finished the monthly stitching for that piece by about the 20th of the month. In addition, any additional stitching time that I have in a day, I will spend that on Needs No Paint. I also want to work on my Kraken diamond painting as well, as often as possible. And then after the 20th, when I don't have Reaching Skyward, I'll probably be leaning towards that Ophelia Mirabilia piece for now. But yeah, for June, that's probably how things are going to go. But I'm still brainstorming what I'm going to do in July, because in July I have a 2-week vacation, and it's going to be a solo camping trip. So I am currently thinking about what kinds of crafts I can bring with me, what kinds of projects I can bring with me, and what kind of special stitching I might be able to do on that trip. So yeah, thinking about that. I was thinking today maybe Ragnarok would be a good piece to bring out. That's by Long Dog Samplers, and I've only just got a bit started on that. It only requires one color of thread. And I've got the pattern on my iPad, so I imagine I will bring that with me, although maybe I don't need to bring my iPad. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not too sure. Reaching Skyward would be great as well, but I do use a device for that one as well. Anyway, I'm not too sure. So if any of you are experienced with camping, like tenting and stitching, let me know if you have any tips about how I should approach that. Yeah, so I'm excited, looking forward for that vacation. I'm excited about my stitching progress. My YouTube videos have been, less frequent than I would like, but it kind of takes a lot to get me motivated to do one of these. So we'll see how that goes. I think I might play around with doing some more short form videos where I just do a shot of a piece, my current progress on a piece, and maybe a little 5-minute video updating you every now and then about my progress on a particular piece or something like that. So that's something I've been thinking about. Maybe we'll try it out. But it is coming up not too far from now on my 1-year anniversary for doing Flosstube. I think my first video was in August last year. So I think at some point soon a whip parade is in order to that's something that people tend to do once a year, and I think it would make a cool celebration of approximately every year that I've been doing this, kind of updating you on what all of my current whips are. So yeah, I don't know, that's it for me for today. Thank you so much for checking out my video. Appreciate you as always. Hope to see you again soon. Hope that you're having a great spring/summer, and say hi in the comments below. I'd love to chit chat with you. See you in the next one. Bye bye.